Hey there. So I've been looking at Donald J. Trump's chart today because something, you have these little spidey senses where you think, oh, something's about to happen. Oh, something's going on, and you follow up on it, and then yes, you look at the chart and you think, I know why I was looking at that. And I don't just have it for him; I have it for lots of different people. At the moment, I'm preparing some slides to look at the running partners in American politics. I mean, Lord knows why. I hold my hand up. I'm a Brit living in Portugal. I have nothing to do with American politics whatsoever. However, I am an observer of patterns, and I know a lot of people who follow this channel are Americans. In fact, most of you are. And it's all you seem to hear about right now on the news or in social media. It's heavily touted. There's just so much going on. Not just that, there's a big and strange political picture sort of coming out of the UK. There's a lot of different thoughts coming up from the Olympic Games. So it does seem that we're in this time of deep change and unrest. And I just want to sort of examine it. Now, just to be really, really transparent, I don't consider myself to be political. I don't have a say in this. I don't get to vote. And I'm not saying this to upset you or surprise you or delight you. I'm just sharing what I can see right now as somebody who likes to look at, I'm a voyeur of patterns, astrological patterns, and I believe you might be too, even if they're patterns that are going in the way that you want or not, and that's the other thing. I think patterns can be read in a myriad of ways. So, there are lots of people that could read Kamala's chart and say she is absolutely the savior of the planet. And there are lots of people that could read her chart and say she's not, so, you can read the chart in the way that you want anyway, but I'm observing the planetary patterns as they are landing in his chart. And I want to make some observations. So the first thing I want to share with you is we've got this great big conjunction tomorrow, and that's the Mars-Jupiter conjunction. Now, this is his chart in the middle. This kind of chart is known as a synastry chart. So it's comparing one chart to another. Trump's chart is in the middle. And then the chart of the Mars and Jupiter conjunction is on the outside. That's what I wanted to put in, because I know that this is quite a, quite an energetic planetary conjunction. You've got Jupiter, which is all about growing ideas, and it's growing in energy, lots and lots of energy, and hopefully some hope and optimism. So we might overreach a little bit. And then Mars is absolutely taking the initiative, taking action, possibly aggressive or assertive, definitely assertive, defending your boundaries. And so the two things together can be quite explosive, can be absolutely, you're standing in defense. Now, interestingly, in Trump's chart, he's got Mars right on the ascendant, which might be why one of the things that he said when he came up for air after the assassination attempt was fight, fight, fight. That is absolutely the kind of energy that you might expect from somebody with Mars on their ascendant. There is I've been looking at midpoints today as well, just so you know. So his midpoint between Mars and the ascendant, the midpoint is known, that particular midpoint is known for fighting for others, and putting yourself in a fight for others. So it's fascinating. So Mars is obviously quite an important planet. His ruling planet, however, is the sun, because his ascendant is in the sign of Leo. So, it interests me, like the sun, I think, is kind of important because it's so close to the ascendant, and the sun is important. Now, at the time of the Mars and Jupiter conjunction, which is happening tomorrow, it's really, really close to his Uranus. So we've got Mars, we've got Jupiter, and we've got Uranus and the sun not very far away, and also his North Node, all really, really tied in. And it's in the 10th house. So it's a really, really public house. It's huge. There's a really, really big sort of public energy. Uranus is in there. Uranus is obviously a planet to do with change, innovation, but also suddenness and shock. And so seeing these two together is kind of Not surprising, but most astrologers worth their salt, if they saw something like this in somebody's chart, might want to find out what they were doing around this time, what their plans were. Are they planning on releasing something smoothly? Are they planning on hitting the ground running and worrying about shocking people? Are they open to offense? In the chart of somebody who's really timid, I mean, this kind of energy, if I had this over my Uranus, and my Uranus is in my 12th house, so I would hate that energy going over my Uranus, because you have to absolutely be a showman, or somebody who likes to live in a very sort of like public way. When this is going over your Uranus in such a public place, this could absolutely create a spectacle. Now, last night, I know that he met up with Elon Musk, and I think they've done the biggest broadcast of all time ever across the internet. And of course, Uranus is absolutely about the internet, and it is about breaking technology, testing technology. I mean, obviously, Elon Musk is known for really testing and breaking technology. He is like launching rockets and stuff just to see what goes wrong so he can correct it. So there is something very experimental about that. So it does figure that Mars and Jupiter, which could absolutely escalate the magnitude of that persona, the persona of Trump, which some might find deeply, deeply offensive, deeply egotistical, and some might feel really inspired by. But either way, are you given much choice other than to notice him? You could turn the computer off, you can turn the TV off, you can turn your radio off, you might need to turn your phone off, unfriend people who might be sharing news that you don't want to hear. But there is a magnitude, a really big magnitude. And I think this is a chart of magnitude. Also, Mars retrograde is right over his ascendant right now. So, if you think of your ascendant, it's like a birthing point, it's your arrival. And Mercury has been kind of rewinding through his first house, very much about his personal brand and who he is and what you know about him. And it's going into this kind of secretive place in the 12th house where, when Mercury goes direct again, we might learn a very different side of him. Who knows? But he's definitely doing some reflection. But I notice that Mercury is heading back in and it's going to go over his Mars. And so, there's a few different pictures here. So I've gone on a little bit too far there. Hang on a sec. So what I'm looking at now is the full moon, which is happening on the 19th. So in the next 5 days, this picture is getting stronger and it's getting louder. So in the space between the 14th of October, the 14th of October, God, I'm saying it again, the 14th of August, Mars is obviously moving faster than Jupiter. Mars is getting closer to the sun, and Jupiter is coming right over his Uranus. So, on the 19th of August, these two planets are absolutely right in the epicenter of this massive conjunction in Trump's chart. And as you can see, the Sun and Mercury retrograde are right on his Mars and very super close to his ascendant. Let me just flick back and then forward again. So to me, it looks like in this week, something really quite big is going on with Trump. In particular, his body and also his persona. Like, how is he known? Is he breaking things in a really big way? There's just something really, really massive going on. I also note that the 19th is also the day of the full moon. And so the full moon is really, really close to his descendant, and the like I said, the sun is really, really close to his ascendant. Now, in my recent forecast and in my forecast for August, I was already saying that there is this really tight T-square between the full moon and the sun and Uranus, and it's an exact T-square. I talk about the full moon every single month. And, you know, sometimes we have a full moon, you know, where the sun or the moon is, you know, in a conjunction or, you know, in a square, but not normally, you know, in an exact square. You know, the big one, I think this is akin to the energy that we had at the total solar eclipse earlier this year on April the 8th, where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, we had the sun, we had the moon and Chiron exactly in the same place in the sign of Aries, which, by the way, is in a trine to Trump's moon and south node. So there is also an emerging Chiron picture going on for him as well. But aside from that, you know, this particular full moon is really shocking. It's really deep, and it's creating a lot of shocking, unexpected kind of tension, a tension that is polarizing, and it's huge. So there is something going on right now. I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but there's 2 Mars alignments and 2 Uranus alignments. So like we've got Uranus, it's just so close to his midheaven, and the fact it's in this tight T-square is really, you know, showing that something is going on. And then, you know, the other Uranus alignment is here with Jupiter on it. And of course, we've got these 2 Mars alignments. We've got the Sun and Mercury retrograde on his Mars, and then transiting Mars on his right slap bang on his North node, really, really close to his Uranus and also his Sun. If I was in his shoes right now, I would be actually, I think whatever he was doing, I don't think he's open for counsel necessarily. But if I was in his security team right now, I would be absolutely checking out everything in terms of where he's going and how to protect him, because it looks like, you know, the energy of Mars is about taking action, but it is also about defensive maneuvers. And, you know, like if you've got a lot of Uranus and Mars energy going on in your chart, you easily get projected onto, because, you know, you're showing the strength, you're showing a slightly, possibly like a bullying energy that can be perceived, a bombastic, arrogant kind of energy, a larger than life energy. And it can absolutely, you know, upset people to the point where they want to sort of destroy you. You know, they see you as an enemy. So, you know, if I was in his shoes, not his shoes, but in the shoes of his security team, I would be very, very cautious this week and be keeping an eye on him. However, like, you know, like I said earlier, this is also, you know, it's interesting with astrology. Like I said, it can be read in 2 different ways. I want to just pull up onto the screen the day of the assassination attempt. Now, on that particular day, you had Mars in a conjunction with Uranus. Like, you know, the one I'm talking about is Mars and Jupiter together on Uranus. So there's still a Mars, you know, so there's still this Mars and Uranus energy, but it's reconstituted itself in a different way. So now Mars is over his Uranus rather than just being in a conjunction with Uranus, and Jupiter is helping to magnify the energy. Now, there's this great website that somebody who follows this channel, Maritza, hi Maritza, thank you so much, by the way, for the heads up. She gave me the address for a really great website, and I'm just going to see if I can go there now. 1 second. And so there's this amazing website that I've been recommended to, called the Archetypal Explorer. And it really showcases the work of Ren Butler and Richard Tarnas and their research to do with planetary pictures and the pairings and the triads. Like if you were to talk about the energy of 1 or 2 planets and you wanted to know how they blended together, like what kind of psychological energy is created from that, what kind of archetype is being played out in the psychology of the person or the event that's going on. And so I was playing around, having a good look at this, and it's a beautiful website, by the way, and it's well worth investing in. And I think it gives a 1 week free trial, which I'm on at the moment. But yeah, I'm really quite impressed with it, you know. So I'm going to quickly show a screenshot of it, and I hope that's okay. And obviously, I'm giving full credit to I think it's Carl Limemater or Limiter, who set up the Archetypal Explorer. I will put a link to it below in the show notes as well, because you might find it useful. But I thought I'd look up the archetypal energy between Mars, Uranus, and Jupiter, seeing as they all seem to be playing together right now, really working together, especially in his chart. Really, there's a very strong vibration of it. And this is, I'm going to read it out from different screens. It's a bit too small there. So on the positive side, it's like an irrepressible passion, excitement, and speed, dynamic cravings for adventure and thrills, urges to break through or rise above limits, surges or rushes of energy, fierce independence. It's also talking about exuberant urges to fly or rise above, active strivings for freedom, rebellion against unjust authority, irrepressible passion and excitement, a swashbuckling swagger, a rock star attitude, flashy, seductive charisma, masculine flair and style. So if you don't like him, you're probably vomiting at the moment. If you love him, you'll be going, hell yeah. Transcendence through sexuality or sports or surges or rushes of energy, decisive, energetic breakthroughs. I think Kennedy said we stand today on the edge of a new frontier when a Mars-Jupiter thing was going on square Uranus, playing out in his own chart. An enthusiastic application of new ideas and technologies. Again, the technologies have just come up. Successful catharsis of anger, transcendent breakthrough speed, spectacular dynamic rebirth. Well, that's also kind of interesting because the Mars and Uranus have been played out. And a fast and explosive catharsis leading to good resolutions and sessions. Now, here's the negative, which I'm guessing, I think I've got quite a good split of political energies in my community. So also it represents a potential for manic restlessness and rash actions, a proneness to seeing others as slow, repressed, or stupid, postures of grandiose rebellion and self-righteous anger. And it also talks about hot-headed impulsiveness, volatility, rash and ill-considered actions, flying off the handle, fierce arrogance, grandiose defiance of all good sense, postures of aggression, rebellion against everything except one's own inner superego. A Midas touch inflation with an obnoxious edge, foolhardy boldness of Icarus. And of course, Icarus was, the dude who had his wings, his feathers and wax, giving him wings so he could escape from a prison with his father. And he was told not to fly too close to the sun, because if he got too close, the wax would melt and he'd fall to the sea and drown, which is exactly what happened. It's that sort of foolhardiness of not following what you might be guided to do, which again brings me back to, my earlier reference point. And that is something is going on right now, which is absolutely really kicking off in Trump's chart, almost elevating him or rising him up. And at the same time, there is this sort of foolhardy rashness going on. Given that there is a similar coding to the same point in the past when he was shot at, to me, I would be really concerned about keeping him safe, because there is a similar coding. Although it's stronger. So I would be urging him to keep him as safe as possible. Now there's another thing I just want to share, because like I said earlier, I am also having a look at the running mates and the relationships between the two candidates and their running mates, because it's interesting. You can see the synastry, and I think synastry is a useful skill to explore, because you can look at your chart and compare it to somebody else's and have a look at the relationship between you. Everything is a relationship, like you and a situation, you and a person, you and a company. You can form all sorts of different relationships. And if you know the starting date of the company, the date of the particular event, we can compare your chart, or you can compare your own chart, or I could compare it for you. A chart can be compared to anything, and you can look at the relatedness between you and the event or the thing that's going on, or the person that you love, or the person that you're looking to get on with a lot better. But I did notice, because this is quite striking, actually, I did notice a very strong picture between Trump and also Vance. So I'm just going to pause this and bring up the last chart. Like I say, this is just for not for shits and giggles. This is just to explore the patterns as they arise. There are some super strong patterns going on right now. And given that, you know, in my previous forecast for the week ahead, I was saying there's a lot of tensions going on. You know, if you've got particularly strong feelings about this particular candidate, that could really, and that candidate's doing a lot of stuff this week, this could be quite annoying. Right, I'm just going to pause this 1 second. So this is the last thing I just wanted to show you, and I will go through it a lot more as I look at the two different candidate, like the four, the four people, like the two candidates and their running partners. But like the synastry between Trump and Vance is really quite strong. They share angles which you don't really see that often. My husband and I have got the same 4 angles, only his ascendant is the same as my midheaven. So it's like if you imagined Vance's chart sort of turned anti-clockwise, so his midheaven was by his Trump's ascendant, that would be like how my husband's and my charts work together. I noticed that when you share angles, even if they're not the same angles, if you've got the same degrees or really similar degrees, you know, say within 5 degrees of each other, like they're not exactly the same, but they're so close. Anytime you share angles with people, you know, what is happening to you is absolutely happening to them. Maybe not in the same way, because obviously they're a different person, but it's almost like your lives come together and you are working maybe towards a similar goal. Or, you know, if one of the partners changes because a planet is coming over here, then that planet is also going to be affecting the other person's chart. So for instance, you know, I've just been saying that right now Uranus is right over this point in Trump's chart. It's also there on Vance's chart. And of course, Uranus over the midheaven can show a deep shock. And, you know, I mean, obviously there was Uranus and Mars over Trump's midheaven when he was attacked. You know, it does make you a very sort of visible character, and it can really rise you up, and it can really let you down very quickly, because Uranus is obviously deeply changing and creates these very sort of catastrophic energies that can lift you up and just drop you very quickly. And obviously it can spread through the internet, because the internet I think is a real sort of Uranus thing. So yeah, I mean, they've both got Uranus making them absolutely the talk of the town at the moment. So that's something really big. There's quite a few similarities, believe it or not, between Trump's chart and Kamala's chart as well. I'll have a look at that as well. You know, there's quite a few different areas where they meet. You know, so I also think that charts that sometimes really fit into our own patterns can exist between people who maybe get on famously, like partners, but also people who you might have a really strong reaction to and absolutely really not like them. So I am I'm of the opinion that, you know, we can like most people and also turn on them. You know, it's completely possible. You know, if you think about most partners, you know, when their relationship ends, they very few relationships end amicably. You know, there's usually some kind of separation, and people don't talk much again unless they absolutely have to. So, you know, the like somebody or hate somebody can absolutely show up with these synastry kind of connections. And there's definitely a lot between Trump and Kamala too, but so much between Vance and Trump for sure. You know, so Vance's ascendant is on his Mars, and it's also on his ascendant. But at some level, Vance being there is helping Trump with his fight. And if you also look, Vance has also got Mars on one of his angles, so they've got that in common too. They're also born half a Uranus cycle apart. So, for instance, and not exactly, but very close, you know, their Uranuses are in opposition. So you know, Vance was born around the time of when Trump was actually going into his first Uranus opposition. So, you know, it's interesting how they work. When I look at these two charts together, I think of an apprenticeship. And also Vance, you know, his sun is in a conjunction with Trump's Pluto. Interesting that Vance is connecting to two of Trump's planets that are absolutely to do with defense and fighting and willfulness, you know. So his sun, like his personality, is really helping Trump to move forwards, put it that way, and his ascendant is too. So yeah, there's a lot to say about their charts together for sure. And there's a connection between his moon and his Jupiter, which I think is actually quite endearing, and you'll see a connection like this between Kamala and Tim. So yeah, there's a lot of you can see how these relationships develop and evolve and change, and I will look at them a lot more in greater detail another time. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out. So whatever is going on with DJT in this week ahead, and it's a really important week ahead for him. I just don't know why or how, but it's really, really big. It is likely to have a massive knock-on effect with Vance. So there you go, just some thoughts. And obviously, if you've got stuff at the end of the fixed signs, in particular at the end of Aquarius and Leo, funnily enough, my IC, like my lower angle, my entrance to the 4th house, and my 10th house, my midheaven, are also at those degrees. So that full moon is absolutely activating in my chart for sure. Have a look at your angles. You know, full moons on angles are really, really quite big, and they form critical degrees for the next month ahead. So, you know, this is a really big turning point for you if you've got this kind of thing going on in your chart right now. And if you've got the energy of Uranus and Mars and Jupiter coming together, for instance, if your Jupiter, you know, if you've got planets in the sign of Gemini, or you've got your Jupiter in Gemini and you're going through your return at the moment, this is also likely to be quite a big time. So anyway, I'm going to leave that there. It's a lot longer than I was expecting it to be, but I found it interesting and I just wanted to share it with you because that's what my passion is about: seeing patterns, noticing them, and then watching to see what happens. I'm a voyeur. But anyway, lots of love. Take care and speak soon. Bye for now.